he let animosity and bygones be bygones and did accept his induction back in 2006, nearly 5 years ago. So I think for Hacksaw Jim Duggan and Shawn Michaels to accept their inductions this year, along with several other individuals, is a tremendous accolade to have accomplished and achieved. Of course, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, some of his career accolades he competed in and won the very first Royal Rumble back in 1988, I believe was the year that the first Royal Rumble took place in Texas. He outlasted, I think it was anywhere from 25 to 30 superstars to win the very first Royal Rumble match, and that was a tremendous accolade. And through the years of his career, if that was the one accolade he was known for, it was what he was known for, being the first winner of the Royal Rumble match. And I'm going to tell you, that was a tremendous career accomplishment. And he's going in the Hall of Fame this year with a guy that he had a tremendous feud with over the Intercontinental Championship, something that needs to be taken into consideration and taken note of. He had a tremendous feud with Shawn Michaels back in the 90s. The vignettes that took place on Raw and at some of the pay-per-views were absolutely phenomenal. A tremendous feud over the Intercontinental Championship is going to be showcased this year at the WWE Hall of Fame induction for 2011. Shawn Michaels and Hacksaw Jim Duggan had a notable feud over the Intercontinental Championship that I think some people still like to revisit on WWE's video on demand service and WWE Classics, and through video services like YouTube and Google Video. That's one piece of footage I think fans still reflect back on when they think of the careers of both Shawn Michaels and Hacksaw Jim Duggan. And Hacksaw Jim Duggan, of course, will most notably be known for carrying the 2x4, a trendsetter, I guess, someone who paved the way for several other superstars who would go on to use the 2x4 in matches and as trademarks. The Sandman was known for his cane in ECW, and Jake the Snake Roberts was known for carrying Damien out to the ring, and Paul Bearer was known for the urn. But just as notable as those superstars were for carrying those trademark objects, like Jimmy Hart was known for carrying the megaphone, I think that Hacksaw Jim Duggan will most notably be remembered for carrying up the 2x4 and using it as an equalizer, and he was definitely the innovator behind the first ever lumberjack match that took place for WWE, a very traditional match that happens on occasion now, but he was one of the first people to compete in one of those, and that was in the middle of the Shawn Michaels Hacksaw Jim Duggan feud that took place in 1993. The first lumberjack match ever took place on one of the very first Raws back in 1993. I'll never forget that. And the match ensued into a brawl, and there was no winner in the match, and the feud would continue between Shawn Michaels and Hacksaw Jim Duggan for the Intercontinental Championship. But I'll never forget one of the very first lumberjack matches, a tradition that is still continued to this day in WWE. So even the Divas, now partake in this lumberjack match tradition. Of course, they change it up and call it a lumberjill match now, but I think Hacksaw Jim Duggan definitely paved the way for many lumberjack matches to take place many years later, and definitely he will be remembered for carrying that 2x4 out to the ring. He'll also be remembered for coming back to WWE in later years, around the year of 2005, 2006. He would re-sign with WWE under Legends contract and would compete in several matches on WWE Heat. He would also compete in several dark matches and take part in some very entertaining storylines, especially in 2006, right around the time Edge and John Cena were competing over the WWE Championship, and they were working a program at the 2006 Royal Rumble leading into WrestleMania 22 in 2006, the same year Bret Hart accepted his induction into the WWE Hall of Fame. I would like to go on record for saying this about Hacksaw Jim Duggan. In the later years of his career, when he signed that Legends contract for WWE, they really made him look like a complete fool and a complete idiot. They really disgraced the career of Hacksaw Jim Duggan. They took the very first Royal Rumble winner and had him jobbed to Edge on several different occasions. Of course, they were using that as a build for the John Cena Edge program at the 2006 Royal Rumble, where Edge would go on to lose the WWE Championship to John Cena 3 weeks after gaining the championship at the 2006 New Year's Revolution pay-per-view. Prior to that, Hacksaw Jim Duggan was working in tag team matches and programs with Eugene, where he would team with Eugene on episodes of WWE's Heat and team with Eugene in several dark matches at house shows and editions of Monday Night Raw. I think they really didn't know how to use Hacksaw Jim Duggan, given the amount of phenomenal young talent they were bringing in through the doors. Definitely they used Hacksaw Jim Duggan in some entertaining programs, like the program with Edge and John Cena, where he kept referring to Lita as a hoe, which was Hacksaw Jim Duggan's most notable phrase that he used in the many years of his career. I'll never forget how he used to say ho when he came out to the ring. They even used that in his entrance music, and the fans were really into it. He was a very entertaining individual at that. And I'll tell you what, the friendships that he garnered throughout his career are definitely most notable, and the friendship between himself and the $1 Million Man definitely will be emphasized upon this year at the 2011 Hall of Fame induction ceremony. It's going to definitely be a sold-out house. If you're just buying a ticket to see Shawn Michaels and Hacksaw Jim Duggan inducted, it's money well spent. I will say that, because Hacksaw Jim Duggan definitely gave us a lot of wonderful moments that people are still reflecting back on, no matter if it's on YouTube, Hulu, Google Video, whatever. People like to reflect back on the many career moments of Hacksaw Jim Duggan, and no doubt he has provided us with just as many moments as somebody like Jerry Lawler or Bret Hart has over the last 20 or 25 years. And like I've said this, I've said this many times here in this program, once you have given us 15 or 20 years of your life in the business, you really aren't required to give us any more time. And I think Hacksaw Jim Duggan and Shawn Michaels definitely to accept their inductions this year, a phenomenal accomplishment, if anything. Just to say you won the first Royal Rumble match, which is a 22 or 23 year tradition, which just recently expanded from 30 to 40 wrestlers, is a phenomenal accomplishment. Very few people have gone on to win the Royal Rumble match. Hacksaw Jim Duggan, the very first one, Yokozuna, Bret the Hitman Hart, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, are just some of the names that have won the prestigious Royal Rumble match. And two of the winners of the Royal Rumble match, the very first Royal Rumble match taking place in 1988, won by Hacksaw Jim Duggan. The 1995 and 1996 Royal Rumble winner, the two Royal Rumble winners, two of the most notable Royal Rumble winners going in together this year for the 2011 class. So that is something else to take into consideration. Definitely tremendous career accolades between the two of them, Shawn Michaels and Hacksaw Jim Duggan. I'm very excited to hear their Hall of Fame induction speeches. No doubt Hacksaw Jim Duggan will give us a ho quote in his Hall of Fame induction speech, and I'd be very surprised if he didn't make reference to the history-making feud between himself and Shawn Michaels. If either one of those individuals don't make reference to it, I'd be very surprised. Usually when they're inducted, they give a entertaining and a heartfelt speech, so definitely Shawn Michaels and Hacksaw Jim Duggan's speeches are going to be something to look forward to and something to remember for years to come. And I'm very thrilled and excited to know that they're going in together this year for the 2011 class, and definitely a lot of coverage will come from WWE.com, ProWrestling.com, PW Insider, and a number of different professional wrestling news websites will be covering the event. No doubt you'll be able to check it out. Definitely consult with your local cable provider, satellite provider, whatever, to make sure you are in the house and have the opportunity to check out the 2011 Hall of Fame induction ceremony. In past years, we've seen names like the $1 Million Man, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Bret Hart, and other names be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, a Hall of Fame that has been graced by less than 100 people, and a tremendous career accomplishment for both Shawn Michaels and Hacksaw Jim Duggan. It's going to be interesting to see who will join them in the elite class of 2011. But I really think that Shawn Michaels and Hacksaw Jim Duggan are going to be the highlight of the night, as they were back in the 80s and 90s. And it's going to be interesting to see. But as I said before, when they brought Hacksaw Jim Duggan back in 2006, you really could see that he was at the end of his rope. He wasn't in his prime. It would have been better if WWE would have used him to put over younger stars. But basically what they were doing, they were putting him in the ring with Eugene and booking him in these dark matches and entertaining programs, I guess, as a bit of comical relief for the fans. But there was absolutely no need or any necessary need to have that influence on like they were doing with Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Like I said, it would have been better to have him, put over the younger stars, which he wasn't doing. Basically, he was just a jobber, a 80s jobber that had come back from the dead. Pretty much, and he was losing to these people that didn't need Hacksaw Jim Duggan to put them over. It would have been better if he would have been losing to younger stars, not people like Edge, in the midst of a John Cena Edge program. But I was really, really disappointed in how WWE Creative was using Hacksaw Jim Duggan, who was under a Legends contract. When you're under a Legends contract, something that needs to be taken into consideration, people like Jerry Lawler and Jim Ross fall into these categories. When you're under Legends contract, you're only required to make a certain amount of appearances, and you're only required to do what you feel is in your requirement and capability of doing. Hacksaw Jim Duggan really didn't need to be being booked in these nonsensical programs and jobbing out to people like Edge if he didn't really want to. Like I said, and something that needs to be emphasized on for this week's audio commentary.